1259 by Kruk Cards. This is 1957 Oak Manufacturing Premier Birds Trading Card Set. Yeah, this beautiful looking thing. Aforeset, the shorebird with long blue stilt-like legs who at mating time performs a grotesque dance, staggering from side to side with wings extended. Aforeset wades in wet marshes and swims in shallow water, sweeping his long upturned bill side fashion and jabbing his prey underwater. When walking, the tail is held higher than the head, and when standing, he bobs up and down periodically before alighting. He rocks from side to side with wings extended. The bluebird, this bird whose plumage matches the blue of the sky and the red-brown tint of the soil, is known as the bird of happiness. Resident of the foothills and lower mountains, this bird moves down into the valleys or deserts in winter, perches on the fence posts or at birdhouse feeding stations around shouldered poles. He may be seen along country roadsides or searching for insects in grain or bean fields or in orchards. Here we go, another pretty bird. Bobolink. The male bobolink is the only bird who is all black below and black and yellowish right above. In spring, he appears among daisies and buttercups in grassy meadows. Singing in flight, he paddles himself along with the tips of his wings, known as roll-licking minstrel in the north. Bobolinks become the dreaded scourge of the rice fields in the south, and they descend in hordes and squeeze out the milky kernels of young rice plants. Another pretty birdie here. Mountain chickadee. The bird trapeze farmer who swings and walks upside down on the tips of branches. Except in the spring breeding season, chickadees may be seen roving in merry bands in woods and gardens to glean scale insects and their eggs from tree leaves and bark and crack open and eat nuts and seeds. Some are tame enough to eat out of your hand. Sierra red crossbill male. The bird with crossbill mandibles, which he uses in pruning shear, fashioned to open pine cones and extract the seeds. Crossbills perch in flocks in evergreen trees, sometimes swinging upside down by their feet like chickadees. They are very tame when foraging on the ground looking for fallen seed. Green-headed mallard duck. The mallard is one of the ducks who dips up rather than dives for his food. May be seen swimming in ponds, creeks, marshes, or grassy margins of lakes. In flight, the mallard has a slower wing stroke than most other birds, the downward sweep being almost level with the body. Eagle, golden eagle, predatory bird called the thunderbolt in feathers because he pursues his prey with velocity of a whirlwind, striking it in mid-air. May be seen circling or soaring with little flap of the broad wings high in the sky over mountain foothills. Eagle nests in mountain crags and high trees, feeding on young rabbits, squirrels, goose, snakes, and other rodents. They plunge into cold streams and then shake and preen their feathers. The head appears golden in the sunshine. Black-tailed gnatcatcher, the dainty bird with a song like a squeaky wheel and a call note like the mew of a kitten, flits from one low bush to another in foothill country or about leafy trees of mountain plateaus, flipping his upturned tail sideways as he hunts for spiders and insects. The young flies and green worms found the nest, which is made of tiny curled leaves and bits of lichen bound to the bush with spider webs. Here we go.
Green-backed goldfinch, smallest of the goldfinches and one who wears the same plumage throughout the year. Goldfinches are seen almost everywhere in spring and summer in trees, bushes, gardens, or on the ground in woods or fields. In the fall, they gather in large flocks in reed patches in unplowed or abandoned fields. They perch upon thistle, sunflower, and other reed plants, eating the seeds and catching small insects. They fly in wave-like swooping curves. Pied-billed grebe, this expert diver and underwater swimmer, carries the young pickback, often swims or floats with only the tip of the thick, rounded bill exposed. His feathers are waterproof. He eats fish, small frogs, and water insects, and breeds in freshwater ponds, lakes, lagoons, and marshy shores. Rose-breasted crossbeak, one of the few rose-shaded birds who sings a beautiful song on their wing, is a woodland and mountain mountain valley bird found among swamps, maples, river birches, or spruce forests, as well as in city parks. When feeding off tables in camps, has been found to like watermelon seeds and butter. Eats twice as many insects as seeds and fruits. Young western gull. All young gulls are spotted. It is several years before they attain their full adult plumage. May be seen perched on a wharf, floating on water, flying over harbors, or following fishing boats to secure refuge. Thrown overboard. He is devoted to his own mate and nestlings, which are hatched on ground slopes of islands or in niches in rocks. Cooper's hawk, known as the chicken hawk. This is one of the few birds whose destructive habits outweigh the good he does. Darts through underbrush, pouncing upon his prey, which includes small birds and poultry. He grips his catch with his long talons and flies with it to a hidden tree limb. Great blue heron, one of the largest wading birds, who flies with his neck and head in a flat S-curve, with feet trailing out beyond the tail. Herons stand motionless or stealthily stalk for prey on beaches, lake edges, or river margins. His snake-like neck darts forward with lightning speed as his prey is stabbed or seized with his dagger-like bill. He feeds on fish, frogs, tadpoles, snakes, gophers, and meadow mice. Allen's hummingbird, young. This tiny avian warrior attacks birds as big as hawk if they are encroached upon his feeding or breeding range. These birds flit from one flowering shrub to another in gardens and parks. In winter, they migrate to Central and South America while feeding. Their wings make a soft humming sound which changes to a harsh buzzing when they fight other birds, upon which they rush with their reddish tails spread wide. Coaster hummingbird, female on nest. The purple gorgeted desert dweller, who like other hummers is the only bird who can fly backwards and rise or descend vertically like a helicopter. The coaster bathes in dew-covered leaves and sucks nectar from flowers through his hollow tube-like tongue. He captures spiders and insects on the wing beats being so rapid they form a blur and a hum. The female nests in willow, cactus, or chapel. California jay, young. The bird who, like other jays hunting for food, climbs a tree as if it were a spiral staircase, hopping upwards from branch to branch around the trunk. Through imitation, fledglings are taught how to crack open pine nuts with their beaks and to frolic in trees, hiding motionless in the shadows when a hawk flies by. Jays bury acorns in the ground, retrieving only a small portion, thus being the means of planting many oak groves. Steller's jay, the bird with many personalities. He is a clown who mimics the calls of birds of prey to scare smaller birds, a prankster who chases squirrels and rouses the day-sleeping owls from their tree bunks, a thief who steals the woodpeckers, acorns, and nestlings of other birds while being gentle to his own family, a well-groomed bird dude, a gifted singer at times, found in pine and fir forests and in mountain camps, occasionally seen in parks and lowland tree areas. Oregon jonquil. Jonquils are called snowbirds because they often begin to nest in the mountains before the snow has melted. Jonquils hop about on the ground near bushes, picking up seeds in pine forests, and come into camps to eat table scraps left by campers. In winter, jonquils flock to the foothill valleys and the deserts. In flight, they display a white V in the outer tail feathers. Killdeer, the sentinel bird who alerts his companions to the approach of hawks, enemies, or intruders with his shrill cry of "Killdeer, killdeer," runs rapidly along beaches near lakes or streams or in open fields, parks, or golf courses. If disturbed during nesting time, the female feigns a broken wing until she has led the intruder away from the nest. In flight, the cinnamon patch at the base of the tail shows clearly. Belted kingfisher, female, the bird who uses his long, stout bill as a fishing tackle and as a pickaxe when building his deep dirt tunnel nest, perches on a limb overhanging a stream or on a railing of a harbor boathouse with his tousled crested head pitched forward and his tail jerking. When hovering over water, he changes gear in flight, alternating between rapid and slow wing beats before diving spring head first and full speed after his prey. Golden-crowned kinglet, bird whose song sounds as if he were mounting a tiny stairway of lisping musical notes and then tumbling down at the end. Inhabits evergreen woodlands or low country orchards or shrubbery, leaf gleaning for small insects, aphid eggs, and tiny spiders. When perched on twig tips, the kinglet flutters and jerks his wings, displaying his fluffy plumage. Meadowlark, one of the most versatile of American songbirds, walks slowly about in meadows looking for crickets, grasshoppers, beetles, ants, and other insects or reed seeds. The flight is marked by several short, rapid wing beats alternated with periods of sailing. Mockingbird, master singer of birdland, the mockingbird becomes a clever mimic at evening time when he uses the music box of his throat as a mirrorphone to give a playback recording of sounds he has heard during the day. Mockers run about on lawns and sidewalks, in gardens and fruit orchards, looking for worms, insects, seeds, and berries. At mating time, they pirouette back and forth, singing their beautiful love song. Pygmy nuthatch, the bird acrobat who climbs the tree trunk with head either up or down, crawls mouse fashion along branches or trunks of pine trees, searching among pine needles or in bark for grubs. He flies with a weak, jerky bobtail motion from tree to tree, chattering noisily to his flock. Hooded oriole, the only oriole who wears a yellow rather than a black cap, called the palm leaf oriole because he uses the fan palm leaf as an umbrella, shelter, and the thread-like fibers in weaving his bag-shaped nest, may be seen searching for insects on the undersides of leaves, picking in crevices for larvae, or snapping up caterpillars. Barn owl, the light-colored owl with the heart-shaped face and moth-like noiseless flight, sometimes called the monkey-faced owl. This owl is seldom seen in the daytime unless found sleeping in a tree hollow, old barn, or deserted building. His flight is swift, his long loose downy feathers silencing the sound of his wings. He takes on the night shift, relieving the hawks of the day shift in controlling the spread of rats, gophers, and other injurious rodents. His sharp curved claws are used as mouse traps. Screech owl, the night hunter, who while sleeping in the daytime assumes a pose which camouflages him to look like a tree limb. In the daytime, the screech owl hides in holes or in dense foliage. At night, he hunts for rodents, crickets, and other insects, and small birds which he captures with his needle-pointed claws. White pelican, a giant bird with a wingspread of 9 feet who flies swallow the leader fashion, breeds in freshwater lakes and winters in coastal regions, is awkward on shore as he waddles on webbed feet which aid him in swimming. Fish are caught with a quick thrust from a sitting position on the water. Prey is scooped up with his long bill and tossed until it can be swallowed head first. While feeding, the young insert their heads in the huge yellow pouch of the parent bird. Phainopepla, female, this silky flycatcher whose black crested head feathers are raised vertically when he becomes alarmed, is called the mistletoe bird. In winter, spring, and late fall, this bird is found on desert trees upon which the mistletoe grows. In summer, he perches in oaks and sycamores in the foothills or in pepper trees in the lowlands. In addition to eating mistletoe and pepper berries, he catches insects on the wing. Returning to his perch and alighting, he jerks his long tail upward with a saucy flirt. Says Phoebe, a desert breeder who builds its nest in dark places like mines, tunnels, old wells, or the interiors of old buildings. Unlike the eastern species, which builds its nest in the eaves of houses, this phoebe is found in canyons or semi-desert areas. While perched upon a wire or post, watching for insects, he jerks his tail up and down. His flight is slightly zigzag. Robin, the singing leader of the bird chorus, which salutes the sunrise and the spring season. Robins nest in mountains or cool areas. The western species migrates to lowlands, while the eastern bird flies southward in winter. Robins like fruits and berries, but most of the time hop about on lawns or in meadows or orchards with head cocked, looking and listening for angleworms, grubs, grubs and beetles. In flight, the white tail feathers show clearly. After alighting, the robin pumps his tail up and down. Shrike, the black-masked butcher bird, who is the terror of birdland and mouseland but a friend of the farmers, perches in tree tops, on wires or fence posts watching for insects, rodents, and small birds. Flying low, he swoops down upon his prey and just before landing gives 3 rapid wing beats and then glides to his perch. He catches his prey with his hook bill, and because his feet have no talons, he is forced to use thorns or crotches for anchoring his catch while eating it. Dark sparrow, the open country bird with a striped cap, chestnut earmuffs, white vest, and black tie, inhabit grassy fields, scrubby pastures, or dry hillsides, and in winter gather in flocks on lawns or in orchard trees near homes in farming districts. Fly in long, shallow sweeps, showing the white-margined, rounded tail in flight. Cliff swallow, the migrant bird who builds a mud pellet bottle-shaped nest on the eaves of houses or buildings or in cliffs. The long scythe-like wings and foretail of this swallow may be seen as he gracefully glides in circles through the air, his happy hunting ground for insect food. In calm weather, he hawks high up in the air and at other times flies low over fields and water through swarms of gnats and insects which are scooped up in his wide sticky mouth. Scarlet tanager, male, the only flaming red and coal-black bird of this continent, the tanager catches enormous quantities of insects, beginning his hunting when the sun touches the tops of the trees and moving down as insect life awakens near the ground. He retreats to the treetops as shadows fall. Tanagers keep a lookout for enemy hawks from a perch in the highest branches of leafy trees. Cinnamon teal, the duck who, if frightened while swimming, shoots almost straight up into the air, revealing beautiful silvery undersides and blue patches in the wings as he flies. These ducks swim about in inland ponds or lakes, feeding with head submerged and tail up like the periscope of a submarine. They also waddle about in tulle-bordered marshes and slopes. California thrasher, the bird who swings his long curved bill sickle fashion through leaves to catch insects and uses it to spade in the soil while digging for worms. In brush areas or in gardens, the thrasher hacks into the ground, often uprooting plants and bulbs while searching for insects and grass sprouts. If alarmed, he runs swiftly to cover with his long depressed tail held high. Paleolated warbler, male, this yellow-green warbler with the velvety black cap is the most active of all the warblers. During the summer, this warbler flits about willows and other leafy trees along streams. In the spring and fall, he inhabits low bushes or oak trees. He catches insects flycatcher fashion or hovers on fast whirring wings to pick one from the other's underside of a leaf. Yellow warbler, male, the only small bird that appears all yellow in flight or when at a distance in the field, flits among willows or alders, in swamps or along woodland streams or in old pastures or fruit orchards. This warbler pumps his tail almost continuously as he perches or searches for minute insects. In his winter migration to South America, he travels 2,500 miles by night with full planing flight. Acorn woodpecker, male and female, the bird carpenter who uses his chisel-shaped bill to bore holes in wood in which to store acorns and to build his tree tunnel nest. Inhabits forests and parks, clings to bark with his clawed feet, propping himself with his spiny tail as he climbs. His spear-like tongue laps up berries, ants, and insects, including moths and caterpillars which breed in the acorns. House wren, the only wren who nests in closely settled areas, making itself equally at home in a bird box or a mailbox. The wren is called a feathered dynamo because he creeps about so actively in gardens, apple orchards, and bush areas while hunting insect food. He has a large head in proportion to his tiny body and usually cocks his tail high over his back. The male builds a mock nest, which the female usually ignores building her own. Put all the birdies in a binder. This is going to be a new, other trading cards binder here. So here are the birds in a binder format. They're
I re-randomized them kind of so that all these birds are facing upwards. Here's the description. I know this is upside down. Some of them are. Just happen to be so with some of the pictures. So tell me which picture is your favorite. And then for whoever I show this to, I can now stretch it like it is a more entertaining, more easily viewable for taking a look. I think this is much more appealing and much easier for people in general. Okay, thank you. I'll be adding to this.